Hello everyone, welcome back to Customer Discovery Workshop. In this workshop, we'll mostly focus on a few primary market research methods. In the previous session, we talked about some common primary market research techniques that includes detailed interviews, observation, immersion, card sorting, landing page, and web analytics. To get you started, we want to focus on two simple primary market research techniques that's called detailed interviews and card sorting. We'll look both of them in details in today's session. First of all, detailed interviews. This is probably the best investment you can make in terms of your customer discovery journey. It's great for uncovering meanings. It's the best choice if you don't know what you don't know in terms of your product, your market, and what customer need. It has the best return on investment for the time, especially if you are a new entrepreneur and have limited resources. Interviews actually uncover more meanings in terms of time and resources needed compared to focus groups. If not managed well, the group dynamic will run away from you and some people can dominate the group time and you won't actually uncover more meanings compared to traditional customer interviews. More importantly, it gave you a time and chance to actually spend a lot of time with your customers so that they know who you are and they can build trust and rapport going forward. The learnings from customer discovery, especially through the detailed interviews, will help you with all your future research because you understand who the customers are, what they need, and because they trust you, they will actually refer you to how they have solved the solution so far, or at least attempted to solve the problem, and anyone who might have similar needs that they come across. Their referral will help you bypass a lot of additional needs and challenges in conducting further market research. When interviewing your customers, it's very important to start with a very brief but genuine introduction so that you can build rapport and trust with your customer. Remember, you're not dealing with potential customers that are only there to pay you in the future. You are actually addressing a real human being with their problem. It's very important to have that rapport and trust, both in terms of the solution and actually emotionally. It's very important for your team to fully understand why you're solving this problem for your customers. It's the greatest unifying factor for your team as well. One thing is very hard for all the technical entrepreneurs, but it's very important to the success of your customer interview process is that you cannot talk about your solution. I know it's very difficult. We're proud of the solutions we have developed. But once you start talking about solution, because we're emotionally invested, people know you will be biased, and just to be polite, they won't critique on your solution, and you will never find out how they truly feel about your solution. It can be catastrophic for your future business. As you talk to your customer, it's important to actually pay attention to the full range of communication they gave you. Not just the words, but also body language and tones, and whether they're nodding or shaking their heads as they speak, or unusual long pauses. Any of those emotions and reactions they can give you may give hints to further meanings you can uncover. If you handle that properly, you might be able to get that what they would normally not share with people. And that's actually what you really need in terms of understanding your customer. It helps to ask for stories instead of making it an interrogation experience. So ask them what was the last time they did something, especially in terms of experience that problems. And ask them how that's impact them professionally, personally, and emotionally. All of those will help you to fully understand the impact of the problem you're trying to solve. It's important to be 100% engaged with your customer. Do not multitask. Do not take notes on your phone if you can. Pen and paper shows you might be paying attention. A phone is a way to show that you may not be. If you can, go in pairs, so then you have a facilitator of the conversation and someone taking the notes, so that all the information you get is unbiased. It's important for the note taker to not process the information on the spot, but record as is, so that any information you collect will be analyzed at a later stage with the full team. Questioning the customers can be very difficult, and a lot of times, especially if we already developed a solution, we're seeking for confirmation and trying to get through that quickly. But that would actually be counterproductive. Very important skill is actually to ask open-ended questions. Like we mentioned earlier, you want to seek for meaning, you want to seek for stories. So ask questions such as, please tell me about the last time you experienced this problem. Tell me a story of such thing and how it impacted you. And you may practice what's called active listening. So instead of a constant listen, you want to nod, look back at your customer, and sometimes you may want to ask, hey, you said X, can you tell me more about it, to actually make sure you fully understand, and then say it back to the customer to see if they agree with you. It's important to actually ask motivations and meaning for questions. So asking why they did something or they didn't do something is very, very important, because it'll help you to understand customers' career aspiration, the fear they have, and why they haven't solved the problems. It will help you understand the context you need to deal with. Sometimes it might lead to a structure issues. It has to do with your business model or regulatory requirements you are not familiar with. All of those are part of your solution and business modeling process. You want to have that information firsthand and know that as early as possible to avoid future failures. The next thing is actually called card sorting. This is best used when you're starting to see trends in your customer interview. If you only had 5 customer interviews, maybe it's not enough, but you are starting to see some trends. When you have 20 to 30, it's great. At that point, you have some good confirmation that you're on the right track. But there's a problem, because traditionally people all want to have their problem solved, and we all want all the problems solved right away at a lower price. You cannot afford to do that as a startup company. So you have to prioritize your resources and solve the most important problem for your customer first, so then you can please them and do a good job. And then as you're starting to build up a reputation and resources in your future company and a larger customer base, you can starting to add more features to help them with other issues. So card sorting is actually the technique I would recommend in that process, to eliminate all the needs but only focusing on the high priority for your customers. To do this, you want to identify features and words that you heard repeatedly and write them down on cards. Then you can want to go back to the subjects or your customer that you have already built great trust and relationship with, and show them all the range of cards. You want to ask them to pick the cards and speak to them about the features and the meaning to that are more important to them will slowly emerge as you talk to the customer more and more. This process is actually adopted from what's called conjoint analysis from marketing research. Many large companies to use this process to help themselves develop the product and really address the needs of our customers. The process of doing card sorting is relatively easy. Once you sit down with your customer, you can do 2 rounds of card sorting. First, you want to combine and eliminate similar needs, and then you want to prioritize. To do this, once you show the customer the full range of cards, you want to ask them to combine similar themes together and then eliminate any of those features and words you identified that they think is irrelevant. Then, out of the remaining words, you ask them which ones are more important and rank them accordingly. Your goal is to address the top 1, 2, maybe 3 needs for the customer first. So understanding this will help you to focus all of your efforts of your team and resources. Keep the dialogue going throughout the process. Ask them to clarify until you have the top 2 or 3 objectives. Sometimes the problem you're solving might be more complicated. Additional techniques might be introduced to help you to prioritize as well. So this is what we talked about so far. We went more in details how to use interviews to help understand who the customers are and what they want, and also use cart sorting to focus your effort and resources on fewer customer needs and do a good job. In the next session, we'll look at what we can do with all of this information you just collected in terms of your product building.